Anyone who betrays eventually drowns in their own stink.
Marriage is like a good bourbon. It only burns at the end. I'm Nate Ellison, 43 years old, and I've been drinking the same brand for 22 years. The burn started about 6 months ago, right around the time my wife Marta began working late every night and treating me like I was invisible furniture. "You're paranoid, Nate," she said last Tuesday, not even looking up from her phone as I asked about the third emergency client meeting that week. "Maybe focus on your own work instead of obsessing over mine." Marta's always been ambitious. As creative director at Henderson and Associates advertising agency, she's got the corner office, the designer clothes, and the attitude to match. I'm just the numbers guy, the accountant who makes sure the books balance while she creates campaigns for luxury cars and overpriced watches. Used to be she'd come home excited about her projects, wanting to share every detail. Now she barely acknowledges I exist. The signs were subtle at first: new perfume, longer showers, phone calls that ended abruptly when I walked into the room. Classic cheating wife behavior, but I kept telling myself I was imagining things. After all, who was I to compete for attention? I'm not exactly leading man material. Average height, thinning hair, and a dad bod that screams I gave up caring about abs 15 years ago. Then her sister Victoria started visiting more often. Victoria Hartwell is everything Marta wishes she could be: divorced, wealthy from her settlement, and completely free of responsibility. She's 39, but dresses like she's 25, always talking about her latest adventures with men who drive expensive cars and own vacation homes. She treats our house like her personal therapy office, sprawling across our couch with a glass of wine, filling Marta's head with stories about the fun she never had. "You know what your problem is, Marta?" Victoria said during her visit last month, her voice carrying from the living room while I pretended to read in the kitchen. "You settled too early. You never got to experience what's out there." "I have a family, Vic, kids, responsibilities. Ross is 21 and Amelia's 19. They're adults. When do you get to live your life?" I should have said something then. Should have walked in and reminded my wife that we built this life together, that our kids still need us, that marriage means something. Instead, I sat there like a coward, listening to my sister-in-law poison my wife against me. The kids noticed too. Ross, home from college for spring break, asked me directly, "What's going on with Mom? She's acting weird." "Weird how?" "Like she's angry all the time, and she keeps checking her phone during dinner." Amelia was more diplomatic but equally concerned. "Dad, are you and Mom okay? She seems distant." "How do you explain to your daughter that her mother might be having an affair? How do you admit that you're too scared to confront the truth because it might destroy everything you've worked for?" The breakthrough came 3 weeks ago. I was looking for batteries in Marta's gym bag when I found a credit card I'd never seen before. Not our joint account, not her business card. This was personal, issued only in her name. The statement showed charges at the Glass House, an upscale hotel downtown, and Bella Notte, a boutique that sells lingerie expensive enough to fund a small country. When I confronted her, she flipped the script so fast it made my head spin. "You went through my things?" Her voice was ice cold. "That's a violation of privacy, Nate. It's a violation of our marriage vows, Marta." "What's the Glass House?" "Hotel where I meet clients, not that it's any of your business." "And Bella Notte? I bought myself some nice things. Is that a crime?" She turned it around, made me the villain for snooping, for not trusting her, for being suspicious. Classic gaslighting, textbook manipulation, but I wasn't buying it anymore. "If you're not cheating," I told her, "then you're auditioning for the world's worst spy." That earned me 3 days of silent treatment and even more late nights at the office. Last night, Victoria came over again. They thought I was upstairs watching television, but I could hear every word through the heating vents. "He's got a yacht and hands to match," Victoria was saying, her voice full of innuendo. "And that penthouse view? Incredible." "I can't keep doing this," Marta replied. "Nate's getting suspicious." "So what? You think he'll actually do something about it?" "He's too comfortable, too scared of change. Besides, you deserve better than this suburban prison." "Trevor says he wants to take me to his lake house next weekend." Trevor. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Trevor Grant, our agency's new CEO. 46 years old, divorced, drives a silver Porsche, and wears suits that cost more than my monthly salary. He'd been at the company for 6 months, brought in to modernize operations and increase profitability. Apparently, that included modernizing my wife right out of our marriage. Trevor's perfect for you, Victoria continued. Successful, sophisticated, and he actually appreciates what he has. Unlike Nate, you mean? I didn't say that. But when's the last time he took you somewhere nice? When's the last time he made you feel special? I wanted to storm downstairs and remind them about our anniversary dinner last month, about the weekend getaway I'd planned for her birthday, about 22 years of trying to make her happy. Instead, I stayed put and listened to them tear apart my marriage like it was yesterday's newspaper. This morning, Marta left early for another client meeting. I decided to do some investigating of my own. Her gym bag was still in the laundry room, and this time I searched thoroughly. Hidden in a side pocket wrapped in a spare towel was a burner phone. The message history made my stomach turn. Dozens of texts between Marta and Trevor, starting 3 months ago. Professional at first, then flirtatious, then explicitly intimate. Photos I never want to see again. Plans for secret meetings. Discussions about leaving their respective spouses. But the worst part was the most recent conversation from yesterday. Trevor. Victoria's right. He won't fight for you. Guys like Nate never do, Marta. I know, he's so predictable, boring. I need excitement in my life. Trevor. Soon, baby. Once we handle the financial stuff, we can be together openly. Marta. The power of attorney paperwork is almost ready. Victoria's friend notarized everything. He'll never see it coming. I read that exchange 5 times before it sank in. They weren't just planning to destroy my marriage. They were planning to steal my retirement fund, my life savings, everything I'd worked for. And my own sister-in-law was helping them do it. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house, a life built together, and they were treating it like a business transaction. Like I was just an obstacle to remove, a problem to solve. Well, I've got news for them. This boring, predictable accountant is about to become very unpredictable. If they want to play games with my life, I'll show them what happens when the numbers guy decides to balance the books. The storm's coming, and they have no idea what they're about to face. I'm not James Bond, but I can Google with the best of them. After finding that burner phone, I spent the morning researching Trevor Grant like he was a potential investment. What I found made my blood boil. The man's a serial cheater. 3 marriages, 3 divorces, all citing adultery. He'd left a trail of broken families across 2 states, always moving to new companies when the scandals got too messy. Henderson and Associates had hired him anyway, probably figuring his track record with women wouldn't affect his ability to boost profits. They were wrong. I called in sick to work, first time in 3 years, and drove to the Glass House Hotel. If Marta was meeting Trevor there, I wanted to see it for myself. The hotel sits in the heart of downtown, all glass and chrome, the kind of place that charges $50 for a cocktail and makes you feel grateful for the privilege. I parked across the street and waited. 3 hours later, my patience was rewarded. Marta's BMW pulled into the valet area at exactly 2:30 p.m. She stepped out wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, the kind that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. The valet took her keys with the reverence usually reserved for religious artifacts. 5 minutes later, Trevor's silver Porsche arrived. He emerged like he owned the world, straightening his tie and checking his reflection in the car window. The valet practically genuflected. But here's what really made me sick. Victoria's Mercedes was already in the parking garage. I could see it through the glass walls, 3rd level, right side. My sister-in-law was there too, probably standing lookout or providing moral support for my wife's adultery. I wanted to march in there and confront them all. Wanted to drag Marta out by her hair and expose Trevor for the predator he was. Instead, I sat in my car like a coward, watching my marriage dissolve through hotel glass. My phone buzzed. Text message from Marta. Working late again tonight, don't wait up. The audacity was breathtaking. She was literally 50 feet away, probably already in bed with her boss. And she had the nerve to lie to my face via text message. That's when I decided to fight fire with fire. My old college roommate Jake Morrison runs a private investigation business here in town. We'd stayed in touch over the years, mostly Christmas cards and occasional beers when he needed someone to complain about cheating spouses and insurance fraud. I never imagined I'd become one of his clients. Nate Ellison, Jake said when I called. Been a while. What can I do for you? I need your professional services. My wife's cheating. Crap, man. I'm sorry. You sure about this? I've got photos, text messages, hotel receipts. I need more. More for what? Divorce court? Revenge? Jake was quiet for a moment. Revenge is expensive, Nate. And it doesn't always go the way you think. How expensive? Depends on how deep you want me to dig. Financial records, employment history, personal connections, the works. Do it, all of it. We met that evening at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar where the beer was cheap and the lighting was dim enough to hide shame. Jake looked exactly like what Central Casting would order for a private investigator. Rumpled clothes, 5 o'clock shadow, and eyes that had seen too much. I ran preliminary checks on both of them, he said, sliding a manila folder across the table. Your wife's been busy. The folder contained bank statements, credit reports, and employment records. Marta had opened 3 separate accounts in the past 6 months, all funded by what appeared to be company expense reimbursements. Nothing illegal, but definitely unethical. She's been funneling agency money to personal accounts, Jake explained. Fake client dinners, inflated travel expenses, phantom consulting fees, probably $15,000 so far. And Trevor? Clean financially, but dirty personally. I found 2 other women at Henderson and Associates who filed HR complaints against him. Both complaints were buried, probably because he's bringing in too much revenue. What kind of complaints? Inappropriate harassment, unwanted advances, quid pro quo promotions, the usual executive predator playbook. I studied the documents, my anger building with each page. What about the power of attorney thing? Can they actually steal my retirement money? If the paperwork's legitimate and properly notarized, yeah, you'd have legal recourse afterward, but by then the money could be gone. How do I stop them? Jake leaned back in his booth, studying me carefully. Legally or illegally? What's the difference? Legal takes time and costs money. Illegal lands you in prison. What about option 3, which is destroying them without breaking the law? Jake smiled for the first time that evening. Now that's interesting. Tell me what you have in mind. We talked for 2 more hours, developing a plan that would expose Marta and Trevor's affair while protecting my assets and reputation. It wasn't enough to just catch them cheating. I wanted them to face consequences, to lose everything they'd tried to take from me. The next morning, I drove to Henderson and Associates for the first time since calling in sick. I needed to see Trevor in person, to look him in the eye and let him know the game had changed. I found him in the executive parking garage, unlocking his precious Porsche. He looked up as I approached, probably expecting some employee looking for a favor or promotion. Trevor Grant, I said, my voice steady and calm. Do I know you? Nate Ellison, Marta's husband. His face went white. For a split second, I saw fear in his eyes. Then he recovered his composure. Nate, good to meet you. Marta speaks of you often. I'm sure she does. Probably tells you how boring and predictable I am. I don't know what you're implying, but I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. I stepped closer, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. I know about the glass house. I know about the burner phone. I know about the power of attorney scam. Trevor's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Here's what I know, Trevor. You're a predator who preys on married women. You've done it before, and you're doing it now. But this time is different. Are you threatening me? I reached out and slapped the car keys from his hand. They clattered across the concrete floor, echoing through the garage. 3 other employees looked up from their cars, suddenly very interested in our conversation. Careful with that Porsche, Trev, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. It's not as easy to handle as my wife. Trevor's face flushed red. You're crazy. Maybe, but I'm not stupid, and I'm not going away. I turned and walked toward the elevator, leaving him scrambling for his keys on the dirty garage floor. Behind me, I could hear the other employees whispering, probably already composing text messages to spread the gossip. That afternoon, Jake called with more information. I've got something big, he said. Your sister-in-law, Victoria? She's not just helping with the affair. She's the mastermind. What do you mean? The power of attorney paperwork, the financial planning, even introducing Marta to Trevor in the first place. This whole thing was Victoria's idea. My blood went cold. Why? Best I can tell, she wants Marta to be single again. Wants her sister to join her in the divorced and wealthy club. Plus, there's something else. What? Victoria's been telling people around town that you're harmful, setting up a narrative for the divorce, making Marta look like a victim instead of a cheater. The pieces fell into place. Victoria wasn't just supporting Marta's affair, she was orchestrating the complete destruction of my reputation and financial security. She wanted me painted as a violent husband, so Marta could claim everything in the divorce. Jake, I said, how do you feel about getting creative with this investigation? What did you have in mind? I want to give them exactly what they're planning to give me. Total destruction. That's a dangerous game, Nate. So is stealing 22 years of my life. That night, I sat in my home office, surrounded by financial documents and legal papers, planning my counterattack. Marta was at another client meeting, probably celebrating with Trevor and Victoria, thinking they'd already won. They had no idea the boring accountant was about to become their worst nightmare. If the law is too slow, make the law irrelevant. That became my motto as I planned the systematic destruction of everyone who'd betrayed me. The beauty of being an accountant is that you understand how systems work, and more importantly, how to make them fail. I started with Trevor's precious Porsche, fish sauce, 3 bottles of premium Vietnamese fish sauce, the kind that smells like low tide mixed with rotting garbage. I waited until Trevor's next late meeting with Marta, then slipped into the agency parking garage with a maintenance uniform I'd ordered online. Security cameras don't pay attention to janitors. I popped the hood and located the air conditioning intake valve. 3 bottles of fish sauce poured directly into the system. By tomorrow morning, every time Trevor turned on his air conditioning, his car would smell like a seafood processing plant in August. But that was just the appetizer. I'd set up a fake social media account weeks earlier, complete with a believable backstory and connections to Henderson and Associates employees. When Trevor's car started reeking, I was ready with my phone, live streaming his meltdown directly to the agency's Slack channel. "What the heck is that smell?" Trevor shouted, standing next to his Porsche in the parking lot, tie loosened and face red with frustration. "It's like something died in there." I zoomed in on his expression as he realized the entire office was watching through the conference room windows. His precious image, his executive composure, reduced to a man gagging next to a luxury car that smelled like a dumpster behind a sushi restaurant. The video went viral within the agency by lunchtime. Someone had screen recorded it from Slack and shared it on the company's internal message boards. By evening, it had spread to other advertising agencies around the city. Trevor Grant, the sophisticated CEO, became the fish sauce Porsche guy. But humiliating Trevor was only phase 1. Marta's social circle started crumbling next. Her book club, her yoga class, her wine tasting group, all the places where she'd built her reputation as the successful, sophisticated creative director. I didn't have to destroy her standing with these women. I just had to tell them the truth. "I'm really struggling," I confided to Janet Morrison, the book club president, during a chance encounter at the grocery store. "Marta's been having an affair with her boss, and I don't know what to do." Janet's eyes went wide. "Nate, I'm so sorry. Are you sure?" "I have photos, text messages, hotel receipts. She's been lying to everyone, including me." Words spread like wildfire through Marta's social networks. By the end of the week, she was getting cold shoulders at yoga class and awkward silences at wine tastings. These women had built their friendships on trust and shared values. Adultery violated both. Meanwhile, Jake was working his magic on the financial front. "I've got everything we need," he reported during our weekly meeting at Murphy's Tavern. "The forged power of attorney, the fake notarization, Victoria's bank records showing payments to the notary. It's all documented." "What about the HR complaints against Trevor?" "Even better. I found a third woman who's willing to go on record. Sarah Chen from the marketing department. Trevor promised her a promotion in exchange for improper favors, then fired her when she refused." "Will she testify?" "She'll do more than that. She's filing a formal complaint with the state labor board. Once that happens, the company will have to investigate or face liability issues." I moved out of the house that weekend, taking only what I needed and emptying our joint checking accounts, legally, since my name was on everything. Marta came home to find me loading boxes into a rented truck. "What are you doing?" she demanded, still wearing the red dress from another hotel meeting. "Moving out. I figured you'd prefer the privacy for your extracurricular activities." "Nate, we need to talk about this rationally." "Rationally? You've been screwing your boss and planning to steal my retirement money? What's rational about that? Her mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. You can't prove anything. Want to bet? I pulled out a manila folder and handed her copies of the bank statements, text messages, and hotel receipts. Her face went pale as she flipped through the evidence. Where did you get these? Does it matter? The question is, what are you going to do now? Marta's phone buzzed. Text message, probably from Trevor or Victoria, wondering why she wasn't responding to their calls. She glanced at it, then back at me. We can work this out, she said, her voice softer now. It doesn't have to end like this. You're right. It doesn't have to end like this. It's going to end much worse. I climbed into the truck and drove to my new apartment, leaving Marta standing in our driveway, holding evidence of her own betrayal. That evening, Amelia called. Dad, Mom's freaking out. She says you moved out, that you're being unreasonable. What do you think, sweetheart? I think Mom's been acting weird for months, and now I know why. Amelia paused, choosing her words carefully. I found something a few weeks ago, a voice recording on Mom's phone. She left it unlocked, and I was trying to set an alarm for her. My heart stopped. What kind of recording? Mom and Aunt Victoria talking about you, about making you look bad in the divorce. They were planning to say, you hit Mom, that you were controlling and harmful. Victoria said it would help Mom get the house and your retirement money. The room spun around me. Not only were they stealing my money and destroying my marriage, they were planning to frame me as a harmful person. In today's climate, an accusation like that would destroy my career, my reputation, my relationship with my children. Amelia, do you still have that recording? I saved it to my laptop. Dad, I'm scared. This isn't the mom I grew up with. Email me that recording tonight. And honey, don't tell your mother we talked. The recording arrived in my inbox at midnight, 47 minutes, of my wife and sister-in-law plotting my complete destruction. Victoria's voice was clear and calculating. You have to sell the mistreatment angle, Marta. Judges are sympathetic to domestic violence victims. Say he grabbed you, pushed you, threatened you. I know a lawyer who specializes in these cases. But what if he denies it? Who's going to believe him? You're the successful career woman. He's just an accountant. Plus, we'll have witnesses. I'll testify that I saw bruises that you confided in me about his temper. What about the kids? They'll understand eventually. Once you're free and financially secure, you can rebuild those relationships. I listened to the entire recording 3 times, my anger growing with each repetition. They weren't just destroying my marriage. They were destroying my identity, my relationship with my children, my entire future. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated the boring, predictable accountant. I spent the rest of the night planning phase 3 of my revenge. Trevor and Marta had shown me their hand. Now it was time to show them mine. My lawyer, Patricia Wells, looked like she could chew through steel and spit out nails. 55 years old, sharp suit, sharper tongue, and a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in divorce court. She listened to Amelia's recording twice, her expression growing darker with each revelation. This is gold, she said finally. Conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, defamation. We can destroy them legally and financially. I want more than legal victory, Pat. I want total annihilation. What did you have in mind? I outlined my plan. Pat listened without interruption, occasionally raising an eyebrow, but never telling me to stop. It's risky, she said when I finished. But if it works, they'll never recover. And if it doesn't, then we fall back on the legal approach. But honestly, Nate, your way is more fun. We filed restraining orders first, claiming Marta and Victoria had threatened me with false accusations of domestic violence. The orders were temporary, but they served their purpose, creating an official record that I was the victim, not the aggressor. Next, we exposed the forged power of attorney to the bank and my retirement fund administrators. Both institutions immediately froze the accounts and launched investigations. Marta's access to my money vanished overnight. But the real masterstroke was Victoria. My sister-in-law had made her living as a socialite since her divorce, attending charity events and maintaining her reputation as a sophisticated woman about town. Her credibility was everything. So I decided to destroy it. Victoria had been having her own affair, something I discovered through Jake's investigation. Her target was Richard Hartwell, her ex-husband's business partner. a married man with 3 kids, and a reputation as a family values conservative. I scheduled the revelation carefully. Victoria was hosting a charity luncheon at the country club, surrounded by the city's social elite. I waited until she was giving her speech about supporting families in crisis, then sent anonymous text messages to every woman in the room. The messages contained photos of Victoria and Richard at a downtown hotel, along with copies of their explicit text exchanges. Within minutes, the luncheon dissolved into chaos, as wives confronted their husbands and Victoria's reputation crumbled in real time. But Victoria wasn't done fighting. She tried to break into my new apartment the next night, probably looking for evidence to use against me or documents to steal. I'd anticipated this move and installed a security system with motion sensors and cameras. The alarm went off at 2:17 a.m. I watched through my phone app as Victoria jimmied my back door lock and crept into my kitchen, flashlight in hand. She was searching through my papers when I triggered the secondary alarm system, a piercing siren that would wake the entire neighborhood. Victoria panicked, dropping her flashlight and stumbling toward the door. But I had already activated the electronic locks, trapping her inside while the sirens blared and my cameras recorded everything. She was still pounding on the door when the police arrived. "This is harassment," she screamed as the officers handcuffed her. "He's trying to frame me." "Ma'am, you broke into his apartment," Officer Martinez explained patiently. "We have video evidence." "He's harmful. Ask my sister. He threatens women." But the restraining orders told a different story. The police report showed Victoria as the aggressor, not the victim. Her credibility, already damaged by the country club scandal, evaporated completely. Meanwhile, Marta's career was imploding. Sarah Chen's complaint to the State Labor Board had triggered a full investigation of Trevor's conduct at Henderson and Associates. The company couldn't ignore 3 separate misconduct harassment allegations, especially with the fish sauce video, making Trevor a laughingstock in the advertising community. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. Trevor was suspended pending investigation, and Marta, as his closest collaborator and rumored lover, was placed under scrutiny as well. They're reviewing all of her expense reports, Jake informed me during our weekly update. The fake client dinners, the inflated travel costs, the phantom consulting fees. She's looking at termination and possible criminal charges. What about Trevor? Finished, the board's going to offer him a resignation package to avoid a lawsuit, but his reputation in the industry is destroyed. No major agency will touch him. I should have felt satisfied. My enemies were falling one by one, their carefully constructed lives crumbling under the weight of their own corruption. But I wasn't done yet. The final confrontation was building, and I could sense Marta's desperation growing. She'd lost her job, her lover, her social standing, and her financial security. Cornered animals are dangerous, and Marta had always been a fighter. She proved my point the following Saturday night. I was in my apartment reviewing financial documents with Pat when my security system alerted me to movement in my building's parking garage. The cameras showed Marta, clearly intoxicated, trying to break into my car with a crowbar. "She's lost it," Pat observed, watching the live feed on my laptop. "This is going to end badly." I called Amelia, who was staying with friends to avoid the drama at home. "Your mother's at my apartment building, trying to steal my car. Can you get here?" "Dad, she's been drinking all day. She keeps talking about how you've ruined everything, how she's going to make you pay. Just get here and call Ross." By the time my children arrived, Marta had managed to smash my car's windshield and was trying to break into the trunk. She was screaming obscenities, her designer clothes torn and dirty, her carefully maintained image completely destroyed. "Mom, stop!" Amelia pleaded, running toward her. "You're making it worse!" Marta spun around, crowbar in hand, her eyes wild with rage and alcohol. "This is all his fault. He destroyed my life." "You destroyed your own life," I said, stepping out of the shadows. "I just documented it." That's when she charged me with the crowbar. The crowbar whistled past my head, missing by inches and shattering the garage's concrete wall behind me. Marta stumbled from the momentum, her expensive heels slipping on the smooth floor. For a moment, we stared at each other across the dimly lit garage. 22 years of marriage reduced to this pathetic, violent confrontation. "You ruined everything!" she screamed, raising the crowbar again. "I had a chance at happiness, and you destroyed it." I had a chance at happiness too, I replied, dodging her second swing. 22 years ago, when I married you. Amelia was crying, pulling out her phone to call emergency. Ross had just arrived and was running toward us from the elevator. The garage's security cameras were recording everything, which was exactly what I wanted. Marta swung the crowbar at my car's remaining windows, glass exploding across the concrete. You think you're so smart, don't you? The boring accountant who outsmarted everyone? I didn't outsmart anyone, Marta. You're just not as clever as you thought. She spun toward me, tool raised, but her heel caught in a crack in the floor. She went down hard, the crowbar clattering away from her reach. I could have helped her up. 22 years of marriage demanded that much, but I stayed where I was. It's over, I said quietly. The police are coming. Victoria's already been arrested. Trevor's finished. Your career's destroyed. You've lost everything, just like you planned for me. Marta struggled to her feet, her dress torn and her makeup streaked with tears. I loved him. Do you understand that? I actually loved him. You loved his money and his status, just like you loved mine, until something better came along. The first police car arrived with sirens wailing, followed quickly by two more. Officer Martinez, who'd arrested Victoria the week before, shook his head as he surveyed the scene. Mrs. Ellison, you're under arrest for assault with a deadly tool and destruction of property. This is harassment, Marta protested as they cuffed her. My husband is trying to destroy me. Ma'am, we have video evidence of you attacking him with a crowbar. This isn't harassment. It's justice. As they led Marta away, Victoria arrived in a taxi, probably summoned by her sister's frantic phone calls. She took one look at the broken glass, the police cars, and Marta in handcuffs, and her face crumpled. This is all your fault, she screamed at me, pointing an accusatory finger. You destroyed a good woman. I destroyed a cheating wife and her accomplice, I replied calmly. There's a difference. Officer Martinez turned to Victoria. Ma'am, you need to step back. You're still under investigation for breaking and entering. I was trying to protect my sister from a harmful husband, the same sister who's currently being arrested for attacking her husband with a crowbar. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out. Her narrative of me as the harmful husband had just been shattered by video evidence of Marta's violence. Ross put his arm around Amelia, both of them watching their mother being loaded into a police car. Dad, what happens now? Now we rebuild, I said, without the people who tried to destroy us. That's when Trevor made his final mistake. His silver Porsche, still reeking of fish sauce despite multiple professional cleanings, pulled into the garage just as the police were finishing their reports. He stepped out wearing a wrinkled suit and 3 days of stubble, looking like a man who'd been drinking away his problems. Marta, he called out, apparently not noticing the police cars or the handcuffs. I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk about our plan. Officer Martinez looked at me with raised eyebrows. Friend of yours? That's Trevor Grant, my wife's lover and co-conspirator. Trevor finally noticed the police, the broken glass, and Marta in the back of a patrol car. His face went white as he realized he'd just confessed to conspiracy in front of multiple witnesses. I don't know what you think you heard, he stammered. I heard you mention a plan involving Mrs. Ellison, Officer Martinez said. Care to elaborate? I want a lawyer. Smart choice. You're going to need one. But Trevor wasn't done making bad decisions. As Officer Martinez approached him, Trevor pushed past and ran toward me, his face twisted with rage. You destroyed everything, he shouted, throwing a wild punch that missed by a foot. I loved her. I didn't dodge or fight back. Instead, I let him swing at air while the police cameras recorded his assault attempt. When he stumbled past me off balance and desperate, I helped him along with a gentle push that sent him sprawling across the hood of his precious Porsche. That's for the Porsche, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, and for thinking you could outsmart me. The neighbors had started gathering, drawn by the sirens and commotion. Mrs. Chen from 4B was recording everything on her phone. Mr. Patterson from the building management office was taking notes for his incident report. The whole neighborhood was witnessing the final collapse of Marta and Trevor's grand plan. As the police led Trevor away in handcuffs, he turned back to me one last time. This isn't over. Yes, it is, I replied. You just don't realize it yet. The garage fell quiet except for the sound of glass being swept up and police radios crackling with reports. Amelia and Ross stood beside me, watching their mother's lover being arrested, trying to process the complete destruction of their family. Dad, Amelia said softly, I'm sorry we doubted you. You didn't doubt me, sweetheart. You believed in family, even when it was falling apart. That's not something to apologize for. Ross kicked at a piece of broken glass. What happens to Mom now? That's up to the courts. But whatever happens, we'll face it together. The storm was finally over. Lightning had struck, the thunder had faded, and I was still standing. Marta and Trevor were finished. Careers destroyed, reputations ruined, facing criminal charges that would follow them for years. Victoria's social standing had evaporated, her credibility permanently shattered. As for me, I was free. Free from the lies, the betrayal, the constant fear that I wasn't good enough. Free from a marriage that had become a prison and in-laws who had treated me like an enemy. I looked up at the garage's fluorescent lights, then at my children, then at the broken glass that represented the end of everything I'd built with Marta. Guess I'll need a new car, I said, surveying the damage, and maybe a new life, one with less drama. Amelia laughed despite her tears. Ross managed a smile, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. The boring, predictable accountant had balanced the books one final time.